It's time to talk about what books I want to read in 2026. Let's get into it. First, let's talk about fiction. The first one I have on my list is All Things Wise and Wonderful. This is in the series of All Creatures Great and Small. Every year in January, me and my kids love to watch All Creatures Great and Small on PBS. And so I think it's fun to read along with it. They're farther in the series than I am in the books, but I still have a couple more in the series that I want to read. And it's a bigger book, so hopefully I'll be able to read it and continue on with some other fiction this year. Another one on my list is The Blue Castle, another one from L.M. Montgomery. My brother and my sister-in-law, they love to read, and they are letting me borrow this book. So I wanted to try and read it with my teenage girls. We'll see if it happens. Another one on my list is The Saturdays. If you watched my previous video, in 2025, I read Gone Away Lake and Return to Gone Away. And those are both written by Elizabeth Enright. And I really enjoyed those books, so I thought maybe I would try another one of her books called The Saturdays. And then since I read Little House on the Prairie, I also wanted to read Laura Ingalls Wilder. She has an autobiography called Pioneer Girl. So that's also on my list. But as far as fiction goes, I love to just keep it open, just to give myself space to explore different things that come up during the year. So my list is a little bit short there. Then one of my goals for the new year was I wanted to try and read a hard classic. So one of the ones that I came up with was A Tale of Two Cities. Maybe that's something I want to try this year. I don't know, we'll see. Crime and Punishment is on my list. I am philosophical in nature, so I think it'd be fun to read some Tolstoy. I think that one's going to be really hard, but I have it on my list at least. And then I've heard about G.K. Chesterton. I haven't read any of his books, but he's popped up a couple of times. Maybe I'll look into one of his books this year. And then I'd love to read something on the life of C.S. Lewis. Last year I read something about Tolkien, and so since C.S. Lewis was one of his friends, I thought it'd be fun to try and find some kind of biography, autobiography, something about C.S. Lewis's life. And then for nonfiction, one of my goals this year is I wanted to read more nonfiction. Last year, I only read one nonfiction book. So here's a couple of the ones I wanted to try and see. They're at least on my to-read list for this year. First one is The Boy Crisis. A couple of years ago, my brother gave me a book called The Wonder of Boys that was super good. Just all about like raising boys and how boys are different than girls. And I found that really helpful. And so I thought, I've heard this one a couple of times mentioned, so I wanted to try and read that one this year. Another one is called A Better Share, and that's about dividing up the responsibilities in the household, specifically between spouses. And I thought that would be a good one to read this year. Another one's called Lean Learning. The tagline is to achieve more by learning less. And I liked that idea because I feel like we kind of live in an age of information overload. So I thought that would be a good one to tackle this year. Another one I've heard mentioned several times before is called Simplicity Parenting. I love parenting books. I love trying to learn new ways to parent. And another one, I haven't found one yet. If you know of a good one, I would love to find one that is all about helping siblings get along. That is definitely our biggest pain point right now. So hopefully I can find a book that will really help us make some headway there. And then the last nonfiction book I had on my list is called The Power of Fun. And it's all about setting fun goals, making fun a part of your daily life. I thought that would be a good one to read as well. Lastly, I have faith books that I'm interested in reading. I wanted to read the biography of Dallin H. Oaks. He just recently became the leader in our church. I always think it's good to learn more about the people who are leading you. And I've read biographies of prophets before and found it really helpful. So I thought that would be a good one to add this year. And then there's another one by Anthony Sweat. It's called The Holy Ceiling, and it's talking all about temple worship, specifically the Sealing Covenant. I thought that would be helpful to read. And last is called Learning to Listen by Elder Renlund. And that's all about recognizing the Spirit. I really appreciate Elder Renlund. He's somebody whose voice really speaks to me. And I'm always really interested in learning more about hearing the Spirit. So I have that one on my to-read list this year as well. So obviously that's a lot of books, and I'm not somebody who plans out my reading year. I'm not going to tell myself I have to read these in certain months or something like that. But these are just ideas, just books that I am hopeful to read this year. And so if I've got a long car ride, or I'm ready for something new, or I'm looking for a new book to read before I go to bed, I have a whole list of things I can pick from. I would love to hear what you guys are planning on reading this year. So leave it down in the comments below. And if you need some suggestions of things to read, be sure and check out the other video I did where I told all about the books I read in 2025. I'll see you next week. Bye!